And with the way I'm looking at it, you over here, but obviously it's that way. But welcome to another episode of Cookies and Christ. We are going to go through
Episode?
fifth, huh?
Episode? Session.
Session. These are the things we need to talk about before we get around other people in mixed company. You can't change up everything, but Genesis 15 through 20. If we get to 20, because 20 is a bonus territory. So today is Morgan's turn to lead. She's a great leader. See, I can say good things.
Somebody write this down. 701 PNPST on the 4th of November. It's probably about to snow tonight, y'all, because Kelly gave me a compliment. I digress. All right, you guys, it's time to dive in.
I'm excited.
All right, so when we last left off, Abraham was basically blowing up. You know what I'm saying? He had a major come up. He was wealthy. He had all this land, servants, etc. You know, everything that God had basically said, "Yo, I got you. No worries." He was on it, and Abraham was like, "Yeah, that's fine, well and good, but what is the point of having all of this if I don't have anybody to leave it to? Like you told me I was going to be the dad of many descendants, and I'm looking at having to pass this on to my main servant." So God was like, no worries, no worries. I got you. Well, I don't know how many of y'all have been in this situation, but sometimes the message that you receive is not the message that your partner receives. So Sarai was like, I ain't got time to wait on God. So she came up with her own plan, and she had her maid go ahead and, knock it out with her husband. And she was like, oh, my maid can have a kid with my husband, and that'll be my kid, which was a common practice back in that day. I read in the study notes because I was like, oh, that's mad weird and bold. So,
Well,
I'm trying to
it was not.
summarize this, but yeah. So they did the do. Hagar, that's the handmaid's name. That's handmaid. Have y'all watched Handmaid's Tale? Another story. That was that was her servant's baby. Hagar had the baby. They named him Ishmael. Meanwhile, before we even get into Ishmael, as soon as Hagar realized she was pregnant, she started to flex on Sarai. Like she was like, with your barren loins. Like she was just walking around like a peacock, feathers, feathers plucked, and just like acting all crazy. So Sarai went to her husband and was like, do you see how she talking to me? You just gonna let her talk to me? And in true man fashion, like, yo, that's your girl. That's your handmaid. You started all this. My name Bennett. I ain't in it. You handle it. So Sarai was like, oh, bet, say less. And just basically would start to put the people's elbow down on Hagar. Like she was just like coming for her. So much to the point that Hagar, she got out. She ran away. So started running away. He was like, Hagar, what are you doing? Like, no, what's going on? And Hagar's like, yo, Sarai is just too much. I can't do this. Anyway, the angel convinces Hagar to go back. She was like, listen, name your son this. We got you and your son. Just go back home and make sure you respecting your mistress. Yeah, that's what it got, mistress. So boom. Ishmael's here. They are one dysfunctional, happy family, right? Cool. In the meantime, God goes ahead and changes Abram's name to Abraham and Sarai's name to Sarah. And at that time, also, he made a covenant with Abraham that all the men in his group needed to then be circumcised. And that was basically like physical evidence that you are with the Lord, because sin was running rampant. And he was like, yo, there's some things happening. I'm not ready to wipe them out just yet, but I already know they're not going to get their stuff together. So I need to know who on my team. And this is how I'm going to know, by circumcising. So he went and he got his whole, how many men was it? It was a lot of men. He got his whole crew, rallied them up together, and they all circumcised each other. Abraham was, how old was he when he was circumcised? He was old. So yeah, they got circumcised. So that's the first little section. So I'm gonna try to break it down. All right. So
But go ahead. All right, so
Ishmael was born when Abraham was 86 years old. But when he was 99, God appeared to him again, promising him to be the father of many descendants. So, but this time it was a plot twist. So I kind of thought this as like a second chance. I think that Abram's doubting God the first time and allowing Sarai to kind of lure him away from his faith in what God said he was going to do made the proposition have a catch-22 the second time around. Because the first time God was just like, oh, I'm gonna make you a father of many nations. He didn't say that there had to be body mutilation. So it got me to thinking how many times when we aren't obedient to God's original quest or request rather, and then he presents it and it comes with, like a little pat, like should have listened the first time. But since you didn't, I'm gonna still do it, but you gotta do this now. Do this extra.
I mean, I'm sure that happens a lot. I mean, to him that him knowing all the plan was always going to be what the plan was. It was never different. Like he already knew you was going to mess up. But I guess that is a good reminder for us. Like, dang, I once was going to do this. That's what he had said, and then I had did this. I kind of altered what was originally in my head of what it was going to be. So, I mean, I think it's only right. I mean, so you don't continue to make the same mistakes. Not having any consequences kind of can lead you down a whole another path. But I'm sure that's something that we all come across. Hold on, Aisha was saying her take on Sarai, and she said she jacked up that whole situation, and her husband went with the flow.
But I think that's not. I think that that's true, but I think a lot of times you can, when you have that type of, I guess, influence. And I'm pretty sure Abraham was just like, I just want my wife to be happy. She
That's
really
a
wanted, like,
whole
all she
nother
ever wanted was to be a mom. Like, this is what she wanted to do. And that's another note that I had, is that when Hagar started popping off, it was showing, like, even back then, there was so much focus on a woman's worth being based on whether or not she could produce. Like, having children is how we equate womanhood. And it's just strange that, because she got pregnant, she started popping off at her mistress. Like, it's still a totem pole here, ma'am. And this was supposed to be a closed adoption. You were supposed to give birth, and it was supposed to be my baby. Like,
so the way I look at it, like, if Abram had proposed that to Sarai, like, hey, I'm not able to give you a son. I know it's me, even though never in history has the man been like, it's me. But if it was him, like, he wasn't able to have children, but his wife was still, good and well, he'd him like, hey, take John in the field. He nice, buff, healthy. She probably would have been like, nah. And I think that I'm not trying to say that he did it with a lustful eye, but you can't not think that he didn't have some kind of fun in the deal. I don't think like he just was like, oh, this is such a chore. Well, no, because if we're going to go back to Handmaid's Tale or whatever that show is.
Yes.
Some men really did not want to do that. It just was the only way that they could. So I don't want to necessarily put that on him and just act like Abram was a typical guy. But I do want to say that he should have stood a little bit firm, considering that he was the one with the faith. He was the one that had the relationship with God. He was the one that heard this is what the plan is. He should have said, no, like, we're going to wait on the Lord and you're the head of household type of thing. Her being impatient and feeling like she never believed him or the angel in the first place, her little chuckles and things like that. So her lack of faith shouldn't have trickled into her husband's actions. Like, he should have like put her back on the right path. It's
right.
making Adam and Eve drink all over again. Like,
but what I will say
when you're a woman,
what if, so, because I think you and I have had this conversation before with what if the message that you get isn't the same message that you got from that your husband got? So maybe Abram could have been like, all right, well, God said we was going to have a descendant. He didn't say how. And then she would have been like, oh, I know God wants you to do with Hagar. And you're like, all right, well, maybe God.
God is not going to sit there and say, hey, to get to the promise that I told you, you must sin or you must go against the plan that I had for you initially. Like,
but was it a sin at this point? I
Sarah
mean,
would have
I was about to say, was it a sin at this point? But it was, because he was punishing mad nations for betrothing somebody else's wife. But Hagar's no one's wife. Hagar's just a maid.
I know, but that's still not what God said. He didn't say through Hagar, you're going to have many nations. So,
yeah.
I mean, what it thinks for me is like, imagine all the times that, like, you know, when you're watching a movie and you like know what's about to happen, but the character in the movie doesn't know. And you're like, oh my goodness, just turn around. The guy is right there. It's like something like that. Whereas if they would have waited, I don't know how much longer, but if they would have waited, then they would have gotten to the promise that God had for them with their son Isaac without all of this situation with Ishmael. But of course, Ishmael was meant to be. Um, it's just, you know, a messy situation. And I honestly couldn't imagine doing that. I want some things in life, but I don't know about the sacrifice that kind of that takes, because it's not like this was like an adoption, like you were saying, like, oh, we, you know, this mother is dying or this mother isn't able to take care of her child. I'm just gonna adopt this child, and we have no ties to her. She kind of they are a package. They come together. She's already there. It's kind of like weird.
No, but text, so in our study Bible, it said that it was a common practice, and the wife took that child as her own. So it was no longer the maid child. This was that's why I'm saying it was supposed to be a closed adoption. Like Sarai was
really still acting like that was her baby.
Yeah, Sarai was supposed to basically take that baby, and this is our baby. And I guess once he was no longer being breastfed, he would no longer deal with Hagar. I don't know, because we didn't get there. Obviously, it didn't work out that way. But
Aisha has a comment. Aisha said Hagar was made equal by the choice that was made, even though that may not have been how Sarai and Abram were looking at it. So basically, they put her in a position to be as on a certain level, saying as though she was the mother of the child, is what Aisha is saying. And I think, I don't know if this, I had just read again, he was 99 years old when he was circumcised. I know that's flipping, but I just saw that and I was like, that's mighty old to be getting cut in that area. I'm just gonna say the healing process.
Used to be living longer, so 99 probably was like 45, like even though that's 10. I hear after like 12. Yeah, pass.
That's why we'll be
so overall, this section, this storyline, like I personally resonated a lot to it, because both Abram and Sarai felt like they were going to die childless, even though I'm nowhere as old as they are. I think it's natural to question that when something hasn't happened for so long, and someone could just say, "Oh, you're going to have descendants," but not give detail like who, what, when, where, why, and it's just like that. That having that faith that, all right, it's gonna happen, and then waiting for further instruction. What's that game? You ever seen them video games where before it starts, the players just like swing back and forth, like, let me know, hit X, start, Clay.
I mean, but
that fancy place to be causes like that patience. I think patience is something that a lot of people overlook, patience and faith.
So it's like, should you even have known? Like, is it just something that you should just let life be? Like, but you always want to hear from God. Then when you hear from him, it's not enough. Like, okay, well, maybe you should have told me that the day before it was about to happen. Like, if you're gonna tell me I'm gonna be a great doctor, okay, so I'm expecting to be a doctor about 30. I should be a doctor by 30, right? But that might not have been it. And then you know there's an array of different doctors. So now you at the podium to see what should I go anesthesiologist, surgeon, pediatrician? And you like, I just know God told me to be a doctor. Sometimes I guess knowing and not knowing all can be a downfall for a lot of people. And the way it's looked at in this story is a lack of faith. I mean, how could you call it anything less than, I mean, I guess you could call it curiosity, but it's messed up that you then show your lack of faith because you can't just go off of what you were already told. Like if you were already told you're going to be a mom, just rest in that fact that was told to you. Like you know that you know that you know that's what you're going to be. We always think like God need our help. He don't need your help. Why you gotta help God? Whoever, God ever been like, yeah, I'm gonna need your help with this. So I know I had said. So Aisha saying truth, trust in God's plan, and it is difficult. Like, okay, I'm gonna ask you a personal question. What has God told you, or did you believe in your heart that has not happened yet? And have you tried to help God?
Nothing. We got a pretty stern deal. We have
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, like I already told him I don't like I'm that kid that, wakes up early when I got something to do 12 hours later because I like anxiety and anxious. So I think he knows that about me and knows that she don't need to reveal anything to me too early.
Okay.
because
That's cool.
because he don't want me writing in my journal every single day. Yeah, God, about that thing you said on May
That's
8th.
me. That's what I was about to say. That's me. I won't act on it, but I'm sure gonna remember, and I'm gonna remember.
Like, recall.
So you had said it's been 3 hours, 25 minutes, and 65 seconds.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to be like, cool. I know.
I haven't got no signs or nothing. And that's when you start praying for stuff and be like, but he already said it. So why do you need a message? Why do you need a sign? Why do you need proof? Why do you need this, that, and the other? And I think a lot of people also struggle with knowing that God said it. Like, did he say what he said? And that, and I keep telling people that to me, that comes from a relationship, like to know God's voice, to know the feeling that you have when you think about that thing that you're supposed to have. And it could get confused with your own personal want. Like everybody wants to be a millionaire. I mean, I don't know anybody that's like, okay, thousandaire. Everybody at least want to be a thousandaire. Like some people don't, they know they're not responsible enough to be a millionaire. But everybody wants to have enough money to take care of their needs and some wants. But if you were told that you will be a ruler over many and you come from, nothing, then sometimes it's like it can be detrimental to you because your mind can't accept where you are now, knowing that you're going to be there later sometime. I mean, and that's a difficult place to be in. So I don't know if that's how they were feeling. I can only imagine being like 90, 80 old. I mean, in our time, that's old. Maybe in their time, that's not old. But he was what, 86? He was 86 years old. That's again not that old in there because people living to 300, 600. But for us, that's a long time to be on earth. But I mean, it could have been old to them because that's what Sarai was saying. I'm old. Like,
Yeah, at that time, God had already shortened their lifespan to like 120 years. They knew they were on the tail end of the spectrum.
That's old. Popping out a baby at 80. Not Kelly. I'd be like, I no longer want the blessing, Lord. Can I please have in place of that? Can I have 3 cows?
I guess to piggyback on what you said about knowing God's voice, I think because I know that I have had times where I question, I'm like, okay, well, I got this message, but is it just me or is it really God? And sometimes what your gut, like the relationship between your spirit and your gut, it is God, but you think that it's you. And when you have a history of not making great decisions or making mistakes in the past, it causes you to question, is this real? Am I about to make another mistake? Like it's that panic that you feel. And so we already can see, I mean, there's a long history of people in the Bible making poor choices. Abram and Sarai made quite a few poor choices themselves. So
every son in his lineage. It's like Abram.
I think that
his
when it
son.
came time to, one of the notes I did have was why did Abraham agree to sleep with Hagar? Like he didn't feel in his soul that this probably wasn't right. Um,
Hold
I
on, let
don't
me see.
know.
Let me see. Hold on, let me see. Let me see. Hold on. So,
I think Genesis
mm,
16:3.
mhm. I'm trying to see if the study notes will give any hint of like what was my man thinking. Um, because again, you automatically want to think, oh, this is my opportunity to be with some nice young thing. But it's not always that. He could have been genuine in his love for his wife, but how could that love surpass the promise that God gave to him? So I just don't know.
So, but what he
It's
said was
out of
Sarai,
lack of faith. It's out of lack
Abraham,
of faith.
he said Abraham, I mean Abram, he was still Abraham. Abram agreed to Sarai's proposal. So again, it's all right, I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse. You get to sleep with this beautiful Egyptian woman and have a descendant. And I get my baby. Isn't this perfect, honey? Like she probably finessed that proposal, probably rubbed his feet with some oils, just everything to kind of make this a magnanimous
He just
offer.
saw through all of that because again, he is the one, to my knowledge, with the relationship with God. Like I don't see Sarai talking to God. I think she she laughed at the situation, but
She didn't laugh
he.
yet. It wasn't until later that
Oh yeah, then she becomes pregnant.
yeah.
But still, he's the one with the lack of faith. So him having that relationship with God, he should have been like, well, no. It's kind of like when your friends, I mean, this is going real far with it, but like this is the situation I had when I first started my journey, my relationship with God in college. And you're like, oh, I want people to, come to church with me. I want them to learn more about God. And it's like, oh, well, we are not going to do that. But can you come to the club with us? And it's like, okay, well, I'll do that thing that you want to do, but I should be the one more so influencing you to do what you're supposed to be doing. And it's like, why wasn't he the stronger individual in the situation emotionally? I know that that's your wife, you want to see them happy, but you should have come. And I don't know if this can go down into anybody else's household and say that, like, when you have two individuals in a household that do not have the same relationship with God, or at least a relationship with God, they probably won't have the same relationship. Everybody's is different. It's hard to make sound decisions as one. Like, hey, we should go to this church. Hey, we should have this many children. And you're being led by God while they're being led by their feelings or by whatever the world says. Like, if you feel like you want to have kids and then your wife is like, not with this body, I'm only 22. I got like at least 7 more years before I feel like I want to give all of this up because you can't go back. You just can't. So,
Yes, you can. People do it all the time. Some people even look better than their
magical
proposed
people.
children.
Well, maybe because they weren't pregnant for 3 years like me, but I'm just saying, like when you don't
People
have a
normal.
spouse that has the same level of relationship or want to have a relationship with God, it can be hard to be on the same page and move at the same pace and do the right thing or what God tells you to do. Um, and I don't mean anything by this, but to me, being the man and to me the head of the household, your influence should have been greater. I just feel like he should have had a stronger presence in that conversation, wherever it was, however it went down. I mean, it doesn't say that he gave up any fight. Like he didn't say, nah, let's give it 3 months. And then went and prayed to God, please, I don't want to disappoint my wife. God, please bless us in 3 months. Like he could have did something other than
I think that's fair. I do think it would have warranted a second conversation. Like, let me mull this over for like a week or so.
which leads me to believe he was just like, oh yeah, I want to do that. I was already looking at her. I can't get past that part. Like I just feel like he wanted to do something like that in the first place. I don't know. Is that important? Probably not, because either way, we in this situation right here. So
So
beyond that,
I have
but
another.
hold on, I guess we already talked about the first part, which is God's promise to Abram about him,
Yeah, I
having.
wanted to kind of circle back to that because I did have a note when God was making that, like they made that covenant. And so Abraham and went and God told him what to get a whole bunch of animals and cut them down and lay them side by side. And so Abraham did it, But when he did it, it said some vultures swooped down to eat the carcasses, and Abram had to chase them away. And I put a note that, like, this is like a reminder that even when you are following God's instructions, there will always be haters and, vultures who are going to swoop down and try to interfere with doing as God has said. But it's up to us to chase them away and be diligent and like following these steps. Because I mean, have y'all seen a vulture?
Yes, man.
I am not chasing down a vulture.
So,
Give me
I'm
that
afraid of birds. I'm afraid of all birds. It could be Tweety or it could be the emu.
Oh, emus look scary.
I don't like any of them. At least they're flightless. They kind of fast. But I went to my friend's house and I lied to you not. I counted. It was like 20 plus vultures on the roof. I was like, why are they?
Last time I wouldn't have went in.
I ran in. She had to open the door and I had to run in. And she said the last time she did that, one was in the bush. Why is a vulture in the bush? Anyway, yes. So those are some big bouted birds. Like the wingspan, the look. I don't know. I don't know what again, why are they so? But I like that analogy. I do. I like that you thought about it that way because that is something that you can think back on and was like, Abram went through it. Why am I any different? I'm probably going to deal with that too. So
Yeah,
you can get through it.
that made me say Abram a true G because I would have been like, let me just go get some more. Are you right, bro?
Did it say? It just said some. So we don't know. It could have been 3. Honestly, if it had been me, all it needed was 1, and I'd have been like, God, my heart. You don't know about that life because they just turkey vultures is what we have in Maryland, and they don't play. Like I just can't. So I mean, the guy was real specific. It was a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat. Everybody had to be 3. A ram that's 3 years old, a turtle dove, and a pigeon. And a pigeon. I'm just laughing because to me in my head, I have a hierarchy of animals that are worth sacrificing. And I just was like, what's up with the young pigeon? I think we disrespect pigeons here in America. It's just they're the birds that's at the harbor or downtown DC, and they're like rats with wings, is what we call them. So I
think there are different, like, how there are different boroughs in like Maryland. DC pigeons versus like NYC pigeons versus like
Baltimore pigeons.
Like gang. I don't know. I don't know who gonna win. I know I don't even want to be in the area. I don't know. Bridget had a question asking about the role of a surrogate and compared to how we do things now. So I actually have a friend who was a surrogate. So how they do things now in surrogacy is you are just a womb. You just carry it. But typically they will extract an egg from the mother and then implant the dad's sperm into the egg. And then once it's fertilized, they then insert, it's like several of them, into the uterus of the surrogate. And then you come back and you see how many have made it. Sometimes they put in like 4, and oftentimes 3 die and 1 makes it. And then sometimes you might end up with, hey, you lucky, all 3 made it. So that's how it's done now. So technically in that stance, it's not exactly the same because here you literally had somebody using their egg. It was her child. She basically had rights to this child. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if you do like a private surrogate type situation where like you and your husband can't have a child and you tell him he can be with your sister, I don't think oftentimes they're actually in relation sexually with each other. I don't think people do that. I'm not saying that they haven't in the past, but a lot of people will lean on technology and science and say we're going to do
I think it's money. It costs a lot of money to do it that way. So the cheapest way would be to have your husband get with your sister or your mom.
Yeah,
Like there
that's
are
what I'm saying. If
people
you
they
can't
don't have
afford,
the money to do several, because sometimes it takes several rounds of treatments, and like for them to extract your eggs, you have to be on shots for a certain amount of time to get all these clusters of eggs, and that's very painful. And a lot of women don't like doing that. And his sperm has to be at a certain temp. It's a lot that goes into it. It's really
yeah. So I guess that's like more the old fashioned way. I
yeah.
don't know
What
part.
movie was I just? I wasn't just watching the movie. Or was it? It was a. It was about a black woman. Um. Oh no, Pretty Little Fires. It was a series. Remember how she ended up keeping the kid?
Yeah. Hmm.
So
But they did that. It wasn't him with her. It was like a turkey baster type situation
yeah,
because
but
they have a way of getting pregnant. So
yeah, but at
um,
the same time, it was still her baby, her egg.
yeah.
So
So
that's why.
in this situation in the Bible, that baby has no DNA of Sarai.
Yeah.
So it's a little different like that. But people
Look at
are
all these pigeon connoisseurs.
complaining about these pigeons. So
Pigeon
Amen said
aficionados.
that God sees them different. Yes, if God called it to be sacrificed, I'm assuming that it has some kind of merit. It just was different to me because I was like, okay, yeah, I know about cows. A lot of people have cows up here, and goat. Of course, the goat. I've heard of that before. Ram. We heard of the ram. I haven't heard of a turtle dove, but we still got them up there on bird. But the pigeon, I've never heard of a pigeon, and then just because of the way that we see the pigeon, that's the only reason why I question the pigeon. I mean, no disrespect to the pigeon or the decision of the Lord. I just was like, that one was different. And Annette is saying there are different types of pigeons. There are different ones in Miami and Cuba, so they might be different. I'm sure they are different, especially if we're talking
I
about a
probably asked for
long
that
time
Cuban
ago.
pigeon. He wanted the Cuban
Yeah,
pigeon. Can't see
Cuban
what
pigeon.
can't see what
So
these
a long time
YouTube.
ago, I'm sure maybe the pigeon. I mean, because our perspective on things are warped by our own environment. So
And
I'm here.
also,
So
the pigeon itself could have changed through when
yeah,
was
that was a long time ago.
2100 BC to now. The pigeon probably was majestic, wasn't all grade, probably looked real nice back then.
Mhm. Yeah, could
Maybe.
have been. Yeah, that's a could have been.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's no shade to the text. It's just that threw me off. I just was like, because even the way it said it was like last, and it say, oh yeah, and sprinkle a little young pigeon in there too.
It's
So,
like
but we're not gonna harp on this young pigeon. It's just something that was interesting to me when it was said. But I liked for this section when the text says, "Look up into the sky and count the stars if you can." That's how many descendants you will have, and that's plentiful.
you,
Like
you was
that's a lot.
breaking up. Repeat that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading what is this? Genesis 15:5. When the Lord was talking to Abram outside and said to him, look up into the sky and count the stars if you can. That's how many descendants you will have. And I was like, that is plenty. Like, I don't know where you all are. My son had a project with the stars, and I had to be honest with him. I was like, baby, I don't think you are going to be able to see a star in the skies that we have right now. Just that's just the way our ozone layer is looking over here. If you see a star, I guarantee you it's a plane. I haven't seen stars in the sky in a long time. And that's usually it for city folk. Like when you go way out where there's like less pollution or just less cloudy. I don't know what this case may be, but I knew he wasn't going to be able to see any stars. That was his assignment. Um, so I just thought, oh, that's interesting because I haven't seen a sky full of stars in a long time. But aside from that, just imagining that you can't count the amount of stars in the sky. It's just that's so many. So I just hope that Abram really took that in and was like, wow, that's a lot. Like the influence that I will have is plentiful. So I just thought that was amazing to 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 say it in that way. So that was all for that. That's the only part that I had that I would like to add to that. I think that's it. I'm looking over my notes right now. What I highlighted.
Um,
Oh, from the
okay.
beginning when he said, "Do not fear." Well, not do not be afraid. for I will protect you and reward you greatly. I guess it's, you know how sometimes when older generations or younger generations, different generations hear about different ones, we always look at other ones like, oh, they took that for granted. And the way God is talking to him right now is different than the way it's spoken to us. And for God to speak and say, do not, because to us, we read this and he's speaking to Abram and he's talking to us as well. We'll take a scripture and say, apply it to our own lives. But this was actually spoken to him. And he says, do not be afraid, Abram, for I will protect you and your reward will be great. And it's like, man, you hear that and you still go and, have this lack of faith and do what you did and kind of, I'm not going to say mess up the chain because God knows, but it's just like, why couldn't you just lean on that and kind of explain that to your wife? And, just going back to what we had said before. But just the study Bible was just saying like, to not have to fear is like a nice peacefulness. Like that's a blessing to know that God has that hand on you type of thing. That's my love note.
So when I read that, I guess because it said that God spoke to him in a vision, and so I don't know why I thought that it was like a dream when it said vision. Ooh, you green, like your screen went green. I don't know what happened. Like it's looking.
Why your eyes look like that?
It's looking real crazy.
So I mean, in the vision versus
but yeah. So hold on. But yeah, hold on. I gotta take this picture and send it to you real quick because you might need to pause and reconnect.
So am I like She-Hulk?
You like your TV is messed up.
Oh, I can see it. I can see it now. I don't know.
It's on the way now.
It is good.
All right, that's why my face was like that. Anyway, so I kind of reckoned it like, oh, he was in a dream. So he's probably having like a sweet dream, lands and fields, and then like it went black, and then or God just popped in, and so like, don't be afraid. It's just me. Like, I just wanted to talk to you real quick. I know this is strange. I know I don't normally pop in your dreams, but keep calm. Don't jump up. You know how when you think you about to die in your sleep, you pop up like when somebody about to get you. So that's how I
go ahead. I got
that's
something.
how I kind of read that section. But I like how you explained it. My last note for the section or my takeaway was just like that even people of great faith like Abram struggle or wrestle with believing some of the promises that God has made to them, and also struggle with being patient. And so it was just a reminder for me to not take things into my own hand and to try to be patient and to ask God to instill me with more patience when I am getting impatient, because you guys, my ring is still nude, but I'm gonna be patient. My womb is still just full of vegetables. But I'm gonna be patient. So yeah.
Yeah, be patient. Please
All
be
right.
patient. Don't take it
Well,
into your own.
Moving right along, as promised, we will crack into
I wanted to tell you about my dream because you talking about visions. So I feel like definitely God comes to us in our dreams, but not that loud thunderclap thing that some people feel. But I had a dream. Yes, it was yesterday, day before yesterday, and I could not determine between reality and a dream, and it was really weird because sometimes I'm really able to do that, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is reality. I know this is reality, and I just heard my kids yelling at each other and arguing. So I was like, I'm not saying nothing. I'm just going to stay in the bed. I'm going to bed. And I was like, let me just tell them to go to sleep because I know it's late. I'm asleep. So that means it's mad late because I'm at least sleep by 3:00. So I yelled and I said, go to sleep. Yeah, I go to sleep at 3. So I said, go to sleep. And Maurice was next to me. And he shook. And he was like, Callie, wake up. And I was like, I am up. He was like, no, you were just sleeping. I was like, no, I was just up. And I yelled at the kids. He was like, but the kids are asleep. He said that I scared him so bad because it's quiet in the house, and I just yelled, "Go to sleep." So I was like, "Man, I'm usually good at that. I'm usually good at being able to tell that I'm in a dream versus I'm in reality." So that's scary.
I
I hope I
probably
know
know
that
that.
in the bathroom.
I'm a really, really light sleeper. So like the slightest noise wakes me up. So if you would have screamed in my ear, like, bruh,
I was right there, like he was
I probably
scared.
would have kicked you off the bed, like, and then probably wouldn't be able to get back to sleep because I'm one
Yeah,
of those people. Like, you
I
really.
scared him greatly.
Aw.
Okay, I think so. We talked about the first part, which is God's covenant, and then the birth of Ishmael. Next will be um Abram changing his name to Abraham. Well, he didn't change it, God changed it. But I think you touched on that already.
Yeah, we touched on the covenant, which was the mark of the covenant, which was the circumcision, and the name changes to Abraham and Sarah. And if you want, we can speak on, I guess, what their new names mean.
Yeah.
Um, so let's see.
Yeah.
What was Abraham? When did the
Page 37.
oh no. Yes. Oh, we also I didn't mention this, but in this section when Abram is changed to Abraham and God appeared to him, he referred to himself as El Shaddai,
Yeah.
which means God Almighty. And I don't know. It's like imagine if I would come in a room on any particular day and be like, I'm Morgan. Tomorrow, I'm Morgaine. Like I be in the room, and each time I appear to you, I'm referring to myself as something different, and you just got to be like, "Cool, what's up?"
So
Like it's so cool how he just does it. Like this is me. Like, and it's not even like a joking way, but it's just like, yo, that's so dope that he's speaking it with such conviction and just like I am almighty. Like, please check my resume. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just so dope. I love that swag in these type of in these stories where he just announces himself like just walked in, what's up?
this is who I am.
Um
Because I have a I went when I got this book, it has all the different titles of God and what they mean. And I made a kit about them. And I started to study it because I was really interested in that.
yeah.
Goodness. But
I
yeah.
don't know, it's a page in our study Bible
Yes,
that has
I'm
the
flipping through it right now trying to look for it. Like, where is that page? But it's in there.
when
It's a
you
page in this
continue to look.
Bible
So
that tells you the different names of God. And it's amazing. I was like, oh, and it's like you can call, and people do, they call to those specific names depending on how they are feeling as
the
well.
prayer,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So, and it's not many different gods. Let me make sure that's clear. It's just different titles. Um, I guess along the lines of how you have different titles. Not that you have different names, but somebody that knows you more might call you a nickname, or you are Morgan the mother, Morgan the daughter, Morgan the friend, Morgan.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Um, it's just that like El Shaddai means God Almighty, and then there are so many other names like Elohim. Um, oh, I wish I could find a page. I'm so sorry. Actually, if I would have thought about sharing that earlier, then I would have. Um, but let us continue. But no,
So God changes Abram's name to Abraham, which basically means father of many nations. And he changes Sarai's name to Sarah, which so Sarai means where was it? I wrote it down. They mean pretty much the same thing almost. Um
Sarah and Sarah.
yeah.
Hold on.
Mm,
He changes her name to Sarah in 17. Let me see.
yeah. Yeah. So Sarai and Sarah both mean princess.
Okay, maybe changing her name is just the change of the whole situation has changed.
Well, in our book, it says that it basically reflects the difference in the dialect from where they originally came from to how they speak now in Canaan. So I guess it's like a
Oh,
twang.
I got it.
Yeah.
So God changed Abram's name, which meant exalted father, to
Hmm.
Abraham, which means father of
Father.
many.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't see that same note for Sarai.
Look under where it says Sarai is Sarah. It's in the middle of the page. Page 39 in the center of the page, right above Sodom and Gomorrah.
Oh, okay, the little footnote. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, both mean princess.
Yeah.
Okay, it just changed the spelling. Okay, that's what you. Okay, okay.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, we got like 15 minutes left. Do y'all want to dive into Sodom and Gomorrah to get started, or y'all want to wrap it up? Or do y'all mind if we might dive in and go a little bit over? What you thinking? What y'all thinking?
Yeah, let's let them decide. We wait. Um,
But it's like how you say your name is Kelly, and I said, and somebody else called you Calais, Callie,
my dad called me Kale.
and I call
Yeah,
you Kiki. Kiki. Did y'all
you
know
do.
Kelly's name was Kiki?
Did you know
Not to be
Morgan be
confused with Palmer.
Morgan be lying?
Mm,
Okay, so I think we shouldn't. If nobody's saying that, that's what they want to do.
okay.
Or we should.
I mean, I can give a summary real quick.
No, because it'd be nice to have them separate. Like this is this. Oh, Aisha said here. She said you go with the flow. So
All right. Well, if you guys remember when Abram, back when he was Abram, left, he took his nephew Lot, and when they got to, the land that they were supposed to go to, he gave Lot a choice of where he wanted to go, and Lot chose his picking, and he went along because it was too many of them. Things were getting tense, so they split ways. So anyway, we fast forward a little bit and we get into where we are now. Just wanted to refresh you guys on Lot. So, one day God appeared again to Abraham now, and he's seen with three men. Three men appear, and Abraham immediately notices the presence of God and welcomes them. And he runs to the house and he's like, "Yo, sir, you need to whip up some bread, get a tender calf, make some yogurt." Side note: how did they keep the yogurt fresh back in the day? And they fed the men. So after the meal and everybody satisfied, Angel says, "Hey, from now, your wife, Sarah, will have a son." Sarah's like, "Oh, I must have put too much ferment in the yogurt because they is tripping." She laughs. And she's like, "Yo, I am too old." You know what I'm saying? And so God's like, "Don't doubt me. Do you know my name?" And Sarah, she immediately cowers and she's like, she's afraid. The text says that she's afraid, and she says, "I didn't laugh." And God was like, "But you did." We gonna
you
we
gonna
gonna
you
come
gonna
back
lie
to
about me? You gonna lie to me?
um so yeah. Why would she lie? That's what kids do anyway. God then God, tells Abraham that he plans on wiping out Sodom and Gomorrah. And Abraham, again, very childless. Like, I don't have kids, but I just remember kids doing this. You remember how you were a kid and you asked, "But why?" 50 million times, no matter what the answer is that your parent give. Abraham paid a "but why" with God. He was like, "Yeah, I'm about to wipe out Sodom and Gomorrah."
There's a cartoon that did that. I think it was Tiny Toon Adventures. And every time the mom would explain something, the little kid would say, would ask that question,
Yeah.
"But why?" And then
So Abraham was like, "You gonna wipe out the whole city? But what if it's like 50 people?" God was like, "All right, if it's 50, I won't. What if it's 40? If it's 40, I won't. So they play this round over and over again, and then finally they settle on 10. So, Martina said, wrap it up. Let me go faster. So anyway, the two angels, they went ahead to the city to check things out. Lot recognized them because Lot again has been raised under Abraham's tutelage, so he know the deal. He greeted them, welcomed them into his home. But then the creeps and the weirdos of the cities came knocking on the door, demanding that, hey, them two strange men that came into your house, give them to us so that we can have sex with them. Lot was like, nah, these my guests. But I got 2 virgin daughters right here who are engaged to be married. But no worries, you can do whatever you want with them. They was like, nah, we want the men's. So it was a mad tense situation. So the angels basically caused the men to be blind so that they could kind of simmer down and stop banging down the house and pull Lot to the side. I'm like, look, this joint was mad wild. We came to check out the scene. It's crazy. The city is about to go down. You need to get your family and get out. So then Lot tries to tell his crew what's going on. They laugh at him. And he's like, no, I'm serious. So the morning comes and the angel's like, yo, Lot, let's go. And Lot even hesitates. He hesitates to the point that the angels literally grab him and his family by the hands and escort them out, which I thought was cool because they could have left him there. Like, I told you. But they escorted them out and told them, go. Get to it. They told him to go to the mountains. He said, oh, I don't want to go to the mountains. I'm going to die there. Can I go to Zoar, which means little place? And they said, fine, just get to where you're going. We can't do what we got to do till you get to where you're going. Whatever you do, don't look back. So they on their way. And Lot's wife, we don't even know her name, but for some reason, I don't know, she had an itch. She turned around real quick. Boom, turned to a pillar stalk.
Which teaches you don't look back from the place that God has saved you from.
Yes. So anyway, here Lot is with his 2 now fiance less virgin daughters. They go to Zoar, but he was afraid of the locals in the area. So he ended up in the mountains anywhere. Lesson to be learned there. Just go where God tell you to go, because you're going to end up there anyway. You're just going to take a detour. But so then they in the mountains, and his daughters, they again,
that's too much.
They are like, man, we in these mountains, we don't have no men, we not ever going to pass on our lineage. We're gonna have to liquor up pops and make it do what it do and get pregnant. So they do it once. They get the dad, so get Lot so drunk, the oldest daughter sleeps with him, and then they was like, we gotta double down, we do it to you too. And each time it says that that Lot didn't know what happened. I don't know what type of liqueur
his body performed if he was unaware, but I've never been in that state
what type of liqueur did they have? Yeah, what type of liquor did they have running? Because they had to run. They had to run from Sodom and Gomorrah that they took to the mountains with them that put him in this catatonic state where he was still able to produce heirs. I don't know. But anyway, meanwhile, so his daughters ended up getting pregnant and they had children. They did have sons. They named the sons. What did they name the sons?
Martina said, no, take your time. Because you did. You was like, oh, we got to hurry up.
I'm going to give y'all. He named them. One son was named Moab. And if you guys know, these 2 sons actually become nations. So it's Moab and Ben-Ami. Yeah. So they become nations. Boom. Meanwhile, if this was a TV show, fade in, fade out. Abraham and Sarah back to their old tricks. So they traveling and they go to
Sarah. She is now Sarah.
Oh, Abraham and Sarah still been acting like Abram and Sarai. They went to this town called Gerar with that same, oh, that's my sister line. However, this time God warned the king before he had sex with Sarah and allowed the king to make amends or whatever to make it right. So he made Abraham an offering. And it was funny because God appeared to him and he put a curse of infertility on the entire town until the king made it right, which I thought was so ironic. I don't know if it's irony, but I was like, man, Sarah was infertile for all these years. And now when somebody tried to get with her, now all the women in the town infertile. Like, that's just crazy.
Yeah, that is ironic. That is.
Yeah. So my first little section or note to go back.
Go there and go back. Okay, because you was on speed.
Yeah.
I was like, is the computer about to blow up?
So right. When the Lord appeared to Abraham in the form of 3 men, I remember, like, even back to our first session episode where we started talking about us and we and the Trinity and who is us. I thought it was interesting that, you know, God appeared and it was a 3 and he said it was 2 angels. But, you know, a lot of times when we were arguing with that us part, we said it was the Trinity. So how did you kind of pick up on that section of?
I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that he even knew that was God. Like, what gave him the understanding? Like, was it just a feeling? Like you just knew that you knew? Because I don't answer the door for nobody. So, so I just was like, wow, he just knew in his heart that. But I mean, because that said that you will know God's presence because you know God. So I was like, wow, he just knew that was the Lord, like them all as one was like the Lord's presence. So I just thought
that because he appeared to him in a vision before, maybe he already knew, oh, that's him. That's the guy I saw in my dream.
It could be. I mean, so that just thought that was real interesting. I was like, wow. So yeah. The part about Sarah laughing. So I really feel like God has a sense of humor. I love how he talks and speaks to us, especially when Jesus come on the scene. But I like how he gets like he goes in. So he basically like I ain't saying nothing funny. And it's like, why are you laughing? And when she denies it, he was like, no, you did laugh. Like it literally says, no, you did laugh. So I don't know. I think sometimes people laugh out of being nervous. Sometimes we laugh from fear. Like people just have this, but I think that her laugh was borderline disrespectful, obviously. So I guess that's why he called her out because he could have just ignored it. Like, ain't nobody about to pay attention to you. I'm gonna give, it's gonna be in there regardless of your giggle or not.
So go ahead, because I have something to say.
No. Go ahead.
So at first I was going to agree with you, and I think it would have been, I have 2 separate views on this. So first is, if we go back to when she was Sarai and making her own decisions, and we asked, well, she didn't have the relationship with God. So could it be that she did not know that this was God? Like, did Abraham come home and say, yo, God is here? Like, she was just like, yo, we have guests, do boom, 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 boom. And so that's one thing. But the second thing was, it was the angel who said, hey, your wife's gonna have a kid in a year. She was ear hustling. She really wasn't there. She was ear hustling. And she kind of snickered. And the guy was like, well, why you laugh? But I wonder if God was the one who said it. If Abraham did indeed say, this is God, and God didn't say it, would she have laughed? Because it's like,
God was so important. Because if you thought it was just anybody, you're not about to get afraid in your own home over just anybody saying, why'd you laugh? I'd be like, because you hilarious. Because
no. So that's what I'm saying. God asked, why did you laugh? But the angel was the one that said, your wife is going to be pregnant. So maybe she just like, laughing at the angel, but she wouldn't have, if God was the one who said it.
The angel here with God. I can assume they together. So whatever he say, I'm gonna believe that they together on it. I'm not laughing at nobody, but I think that we do laugh. I mean, like I think it was a natural reaction because it was just in so much unbelief. But I don't know why. I mean, it could be that he tried to help her with her faith, but like after all of this, like so her name's Sarah now. Where'd she get that from? God. So did she not have a relation? Like did Abram just say, "Look, my name Abraham now, and your name is Sarah," and she was like, "Okay." Because if that was the case, he should have hit her with that.
God told Abraham to tell, he said, regarding your wife, her name is now Sarah. He didn't say, hey, Sarai, your name is now Sarah. So it's just like, hey, baby, I ain't calling you Sarai no more. It's Sarah. And
that's what I'm saying. Did she just accept that, oh, this is my name now? Or did she now have faith because she believes what her husband is saying?
No, if you go back, because I actually made a note about that. In Genesis 18:12, Sarah refers to Abraham as her master. And so I think in that respect, it was whatever he said goes, which then goes back to, well, why she's persuaded.
Why he ain't tell her about why she don't just believe God?
So, because again, if no one is appearing to you and she don't have this strong relationship on her own, it's kind of like, it's like,
well, she does believe. It's not.
Does she believe? No, she believes in her husband. Does it say, where do we see that she believes in God? And anywhere in the story?
I mean, but just because somebody doesn't believe what you're supposed to believe with action, but in your heart, you know that it's because you wouldn't have got afraid. Those who are like anti, they like it's whatever. I don't care what's going on.
No.
I mean, maybe when God got up in her face, I don't know.
All right, yeah, because it's like, all right, you out on the street, you see somebody trip over sidewalk. It was nothing there. They just tripped over their own feet, and you start laughing, and they turn around like, "What's so funny?" Oh, nothing. Or who you talk like? It's tone. Tone make you get afraid.
So you don't think it was the fact that it was God? It was the fact that he questioned her at all.
I would like to assume that it's God, but I would also like if Abraham would have been like, "What's so funny?" I feel like she would have had the same answer.
Okay. That's interesting.
Maybe not. She was real candid with Abraham. She was like, because I'm 90, boo.
She could I think, I mean, you want to have a comfortable atmosphere with your relationship with God where you could ask that kind of question, like, but I'm old. But and so then we get into this whole God telling Abram, so I'm about to do away with Sodom. It's too much going on there. And they have this big, like you said, back and forth about, well, what if it's only, 45 righteous people there? Is it gonna be okay? And God was like, yeah, if you can find 45, then cool. Instead of God saying, look, I already know. You try and save your nephew? Because if that's the case, we can just cut all this.
Is Lot up there? Can Lot come?
Can we save Lot? Like, I mean, I'm heartfelt for the other people, but what about my nephew? So, which is this one person versus him, and then his family, in which we see that his wife didn't make it, and his daughter's on some next level type stuff. But yeah, so it goes down, and like you said, it's a matter of just let's just save Lot. Was this the first attempt at rape? Was it?
No, because obviously they were already doing this. That's why God was destroying the city. Because it was
like in the Bible, like nobody ever tried to rape no angels.
No. I think we read somewhere about a previously wicked space. I don't remember, but yeah, we read about that before.
Okay, so this wasn't, so some people see this and it wasn't sensual rape. It was more like how it was, to me, it's more of a dominating type of situation. It wasn't, I got rape itself is about domination, but it wasn't like they were being lustful and wanting to have sex with them out of feeling of wanting to love on them and this, that, and other. It wasn't a consensual relationship type of situation. It was like a dominating, because they did that in war. Like how some people only assume after war the men would take the women and rape the women. They would rape men as well, to dominate over them and make them feel less than. So I don't know what happened where they knew to come to Lot's house for these men.
They saw them walk into town, and it was funny because they were like, "Oh, we just gonna sleep in the town square." Lot was like, "Nah, come in, come inside, please."
We live in the hood. We need to be covered. But where you, yeah, it says right here, where are the men who came with you, came to spend the night with you? Bring them out so we can have sex with them. So it wasn't to have sex with them like, yeah, this is what we do. We be partying. It was like it was a town of wicked. Like they were just bad. Um, actually, that's the next thing it says. Don't do such a wicked thing. But let's talk about the part that everybody has a problem with,
Lot
which
offering up both his daughters.
offering up his daughters. But when I read deeper into this, it was like it wasn't like he was really going to give up his daughters. It was like, let them think they can have a chance with my daughters to allow enough time for us to probably go away. That was one thought. All of this is just trying to figure out what's going on, like how we're doing right now. So that was one person's thought, was like, hey, maybe he was never going to give up his daughters. Like the men wanted to do that to have dominant, like to dominate those men. If they wanted his daughters, they could have been did that. Like they were already there. So that's what one piece said. But I was really disturbed reading this. I was like, what in the world? I don't know no man that's a result. Like, no, I'm not gonna give you the men, but you can have my daughters. But I don't think it was like that.
So you don't think that you would be willing to, because we see this a lot. We saw this, well, we haven't seen it yet, but it's coming about sacrificing things that you really care about for the Lord. So you got a choice, because we have argued that two of these angels could possibly be the Holy Spirit. You got a choice between giving up the Holy Spirit or your daughters.
I'm going to assume that the Lord has enough power in his pinky to not have me be in that situation, because I wouldn't give up either. I'd be like, look, we gonna have to fight. Where is the slingshot that I know David gonna use in the future? Like it's just I don't know. I don't think that would be my thing. It'd just be like they gonna have to break down this door and we just all gonna have to throw down. Like I just don't think that would have been an option for me. Like
I guess my other
it was
question,
not like he would have did that and killed them. They would have did that and disgraced his daughters, and then they would have been returned. What they might as well have been destroyed. Like that's just not going to work. I don't know how
yeah,
you.
but it says that they had fiancés. So how you gonna offer your daughters up to townsmen and they supposed to be getting married? Like that ruins everything. That's what I would
Right.
think anyway. But
That end relationship.
I guess
But so
my other
that's
question
basically
is,
what's happening with.
knowing, because clearly Lot was raised by Abram, now Abraham, and has, I won't say the closest relationship with God, but he's been exposed to a godly life relationship type of thing. Why would anybody want to stay in a town that does something like this? Like, why would you want to? Like, it's kind of like,
And so that's
people.
relationships. Why do we stay in relationships that are toxic to us? We know that the guy is not good for us. He doesn't abide by the belief system that we have. He can be verbally abusive. Need I say any other type of abusive, and we still stay. Even vice versa. I know men that have been verbally abused or down talked or physically abused. Honestly, I know a guy in that situation. Well, he was in that situation. Um, and it's just something in people to want to be loved or want to belong, or they don't know that there's better around the corner. It's all of that. um it's unfortunate that somebody can't see past their current situation and know that God has something greater for them. Like an angel literally came to you to say that I have greater for you, because I am going to, like, God is about to destroy this whole area. There's nothing to think about except for, can I bring my family? Like the fact that you're gonna look back, like why look back like it was this nice peaceful place? What is there to go back to? But we do that all the time. You'll have a life of drugs and bad actions, and you'll get clean, and then you'll look back like it was just fun at points. Like I didn't have as much worry in life because I was so high that life wasn't so chaotic for me. that peace that pipe brought was this thing. So we can say that, but there are people that like are in Sodom and Gomorrah right now, and in their mind, in their current state, and you can offer them Mitchellville all you want, and they still will be like, "See Pleasant in the house." So nothing against See Pleasant, but I'm just saying, like, some people just can't see it out from their situation, even when you tell them, you explain it. Like literal angels came versus a 3-step, 10-step program, and they still was like, it's just hard. I just think it's hard. I don't know if it's. I hate to dumb it down like this, but like I want better for my health, but I'm really about to eat these 4 cookies that's standing right here. Like they right there. And I want better, but it's like, is it gonna hurt me that bad? Like, why would I want to leave a cookie and things like that? It's just to kick any habit or anything that you feel is good at the moment for something that can potentially be better, or that is better, but it's gonna cause so much work. Is that I think that's why. Because other than that, that's crazy to look back. It was nothing good in that town.
One of my notes that I had was to ask, what do you think? Why do you think she looked back? Was it just curiosity? Hey, I want to see a big town go up in flames. But as you were talking,
I honestly, that would have been me, because I'm not pyro, but that's something that you've never seen before. Have you ever seen something like that? Like, I'm the person when we running from the tornado, and I'm like, I gotta see this tornado. Like, it's gonna take maybe 5 seconds off my stride, but it's worth it, because that's like something you've never seen before. But to be told not to do something, and then to do it, that's a whole different thing. And from that, a lot of people had that whole keep your eye on the prize, and don't look back from where you came from, and um, I just don't know if that was just for us to learn that lesson, but that was quite costly for her, like to just be turned into salt, like that's a lot. I don't know if they would have told her ahead of time, like if you look back,
why? I told you not to. I shouldn't have to tell you why.
I know, but I'm just saying, to know that that's the possibility, and that it's weird, because life is like that. Like, God is not always going to tell you why something is the way it is, or why it's going to happen. And as a parent, you do the same exact thing. But I find myself as a parent doing a little bit different, where I do tell my children, like, it's not because I said so. It's not listen to what I said, or do as I say, not as I do. I don't do those things to them. I really do try to explain some stuff, because I want them to make the best informed decision. But sometimes in life, things are going to happen where you don't have time to explain. If I say, wait, 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 and they keep going, like, mom ain't tell me why I couldn't keep walking, and then somebody on a bike comes by and hits you, I didn't have time to say, wait, stop, don't, a bike is coming for you. Like, I didn't have that time. And before that, smack, and you get hurt. So some of that is training your child to know by your voice. When I say something, I mean it. Just listen to what I say and then do it. But if there is the opportunity to explain, I definitely explain, because I feel like with more knowledge, people make better decisions. Hopefully. So I don't know if they just didn't have time to explain it, but they did say the town was going up in flames.
Yeah, no,
Don't
they
look.
said the Lord rained down fire. When the last time you seen fire rain down? I'm trying to see what
And
that be
that's
like.
why I would have had to look. That's why I would have had to look. I'd have been like, ooh.
Yeah.
Now, if they'd have said, you want to turn into salt if you look at this act of God, I'd have been like, I can do without. Oh, hold on. Let's see what Aisha is saying, because I can't see the thing. It says, she is saying, knowing that you were in the presence of holiness, I think that is an overwhelming effect. So I think she's talking about
Him
Sarah.
offering up
When
his no, that's him offering up his daughters. I think she wrote that when we talking about that.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so what are some of the other things? I already touched on when I was like, Lot didn't want to go to the mountains and he ended up there anyway. I don't understand why he was afraid, other than afraid of his daughters taking advantage of him.
Okay, I got it. So on Genesis 19:16, it's talking about how he was in a position of wealth there.
Mhm.
That makes it a whole different situation. It's kind of like the whole how am I going to get into heaven, leave everything type of thing. Um, when you feel like you worked hard for something and you are called to let it go, especially if it's riches and wealth, um, and if you got it by not doing what God placed on you to do, like let's just say, for example, someone became rich from being in the adult entertainment industry, and now they want to turn their life around, and in order to do so, they have to leave making that much money a night or that much money per film or whatever the case may be. Um, that's hard for a lot of people. This was my way out of a lifestyle that I didn't want, and now I'm in a lifestyle that I love. I just am missing something, but that something weighs so much. It's going to be difficult for a lot of people to leave something that they feel like they earned and they worked hard for, even though they worked against God to get it. And so to know that he's abandoning his wealth and his high position there, that is probably why he was like, I don't want to leave, but I'm the man.
No, I'm not talking about why he didn't want to leave. He didn't want to go to the mountains. He said, I don't want to go to the mountains. I'll die there. Can I go to Zoar? Zor.
Oh, what was going on in the mountains in order for,
Yeah,
I
he's
mean, I don't know
afraid
if
of.
it was wilderness. Hold on, let me see.
It's
19,
1918.
on 19,
Yeah.
19. He said, oh Lord, like he begged. Okay. Hold on
Yeah.
a second. 19. I don't know. If he was a businessman, maybe he did somebody dirty in the mountains.
In the mountains.
I mean, they got mountain people. Hold on, let me see. Martina is saying, I think she's talking to what I just said. Some people do it because they rather stay where they know they're poison.
That's true.
And that's like a comfort. Yeah. I definitely think
Grass
that's
is
true.
always greener.
Yeah, it's gonna be what it is. I don't have to guess. Like I know. Okay. I really don't know. Does anybody know what's going on with this mountain and why he feels like because he's saying disaster would catch up to me there and I would die. So I don't know if he felt like that wasn't far enough or if again he did some kind of bad thing. Um, but let's see what happened when he got there. If he ended up in the daggone mountain in the first place. I mean, either
I
way.
mean, he did. He went to Zoar and then he was afraid of the locals, so then he ended up in the mountains anyway. Which again, this is like, be obedient. Why are we taking these detours? Just go to where I told you to go.
Yeah, that's Jonah. That's Jonah all the way. When we start talking about Jonah in that way, my
Why?
man messed up so much, running from the Lord. How you gonna run from God? But so I mean the last part of that is just hold on. No, look back. Okay, that was just my side note to me. Yeah, the whole let's get him drunk with wine and then we will have sex with him. That way we will preserve our family line through our father. There was no men in the mountain. And if that was the case, me, my sister, and my father were just meant to die here. Like that is the wrap for this lineage. Because I don't see me ever thinking that that is a good solution to my problem. But again, it was meant to be. I don't know where the wine came from. If they, I mean,
Why didn't he go back to Abraham? He was across the valley.
I don't know. And why is he so afraid of people? He was afraid of the people there. He was afraid of the people in the other mountain. And now he in the mountain cave. He need to be afraid of them daughters. They got him. I can't, I just would feel if I was trapped in the mountain with my son, and that was his solution to continuing our family, it's just gonna be me and that baby when we leave the mountain because that's something that you definitely should consult. Like, why would you? I don't even know. For men, that's not called rape. It's called sexual assault. But that is just that's shameful. Like, why would you? And
But
now everybody in the world know. Everybody for ages knows what you did with your dad.
however, this was not, because you have cases of incest occurring through the Bible up until this point. Now, granted, I don't think it was ever father or daughter, but incest is not necessarily a taboo thing in this era. So maybe they didn't think anything of it. Also, I don't know why they just didn't mosey wait for their dad to die and mosey themselves back down to Zoar and get married. Like, I don't understand so many things. Like,
Or
why?
leave their father. I'd have left my dad if I felt like I was supposed to have a kid by now.
First of all, you was about to get me up to an angry mob. I remember. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna stay here. But again, I think that, all jokes aside, this ties back into the value that is placed on a woman being able to carry a child. And that's probably how they were raised. And this is my only duty, is to produce an heir. So, they have to. And if the only male around is their dad, then what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, this is, driven by fear, not lust.
Yeah.
So the fear of not like to never be married, I think that's still on us. I think that's still a thing that women are dealing with.
But they still weren't married. I think it's fear of not
Wow.
fulfilling their purpose, and they felt like their purpose was to rear children. That was their purpose. Their purpose was to continue a bloodline. They were a vessel for that. So fear of not.
Again, I don't know why you don't just go on other, like, how you just determine in your time that is the time that is the right time to act like that. Like, how do you not know, like, how God provided for everything else? Like, when Abraham eventually goes up the mountain, and then God provides. So I'm like, what in the world?
Well,
Like,
because
you just
I don't.
assume I'm never going to do this, so let me act on my own and bring a whole new being and disgrace my father in front of nations, because everybody in the world is reading the Bible at this point, and everybody just know that Lot daughters.
But here's the thing, though. I don't know how much of this. I mean, even if they would have stayed under Abraham, clearly he wasn't perfect and he had his own dirty sheets things going on. But who knows how much Lot really raised his girls up in knowing the way of God and doing certain things, way, and, practicing doing sacrificial things. So if they don't have a relationship with God at all, and their whole thing is fear based, because it says they were afraid, then they're only left to their own devices. And they came from a place, area that was rampant with sin and do whatever you want to do at all costs. That's where they came from.
So he was supposed to have them married. I think the father, like, you're in charge of that part of your daughter's moving on and this, that, and the other. So he didn't do his
Right.
part. He was supposed to have them married.
No,
Now
he
I
didn't.
guess they were engaged.
They had. Yeah, they were engaged, and he told their fiancés to come on when the angels told them to leave, and the fiancés were a part of the group of people who laughed. So when it was push come to shove, the angels left them and just took him and his daughter and his wife. They didn't bring the fiancés, but he did. He arranged for them to get married. I don't know what was the delay, but caterers, things.
I mean, I guess not just to be married, but to find the right people to marry his daughters. He knew the men in that town was no good. Hold on, let me see what Martina says. Martina says, I personally think Lot's daughters, brought the mindset of Sodom and Gomorrah. Yeah, yeah, they definitely had that wicked sense with them, and he didn't protect them from what they were learning in that atmosphere. And I mean, that's the same thing with us now with your children. You are supposed to be protecting them, and you can't just let them watch and see everything on TV and hang around certain people and then hands off. I don't know what you're doing. Now you're 20 years old, and it's just, yeah. I was saying the same thing. You are
But
living
at the same time, even when you do It's funny because I saw something about this on Instagram the other day. So one of these young kids, uh, moms was responding to somebody because somebody made a comment like, "Oh, it starts in the household," and so the mom responded was like, "Now I could be the best mother. Don't come for my parenting because I could be the best mom and do everything right, but at the end of the day, they are their own person and they're going to make their own decisions." So it's like, yeah, I can do it. I can do everything. I can give them private schools and feed them vegan and do everything that I'm supposed to do to make them the best person they're going to be. And then once they are of age that they can make their own decisions, I can't control them anymore. And I have to let them be who they're going to be and learn the lessons that they're going to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. You are not accountable for a lot when your child is an adult and able to make their own decisions. But in that time where you were molding them, that's the time that you are accountable. So if you didn't instill certain things in them, they will grow older and make, decisions based on how they saw you making decisions, the atmosphere that you raised them in. That's the part that some of that is the part that you control. A lot of people can't control, where they live right now and stuff like that. But um there's still a way to be respectful and just all of that. But if you didn't take the time to do that, then you end up in a situation. I mean, you're not going to end up like this, hopefully, but you end up in a situation that's compromising to the faith that you said that you had. So he knew that town wasn't right, but again, being in a position of power and wealth maybe clouded the fact that this is not a good town for my daughters to be in. Just like being in an industry or being around certain people may not be the best thing for your children, like in today's time, but because you want to be an actor or because you want to have a lot of money or because, whatever the case may be, you want to be a dentist, but you are an unethical dentist. Man, they had this one dentist that was just pulling kids' teeth for no reason. It was
Mm.
terrible. It was terrible. Charging all this money. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you are doing that, then your children may become, in that same situation. So that was unfortunate. When I was reading that, I was like, man, the book is getting real. And that is why I honestly feel family, that's what they call it in this particular Bible, was a really interesting read to me because when you are first picking it up, you really feel like this book is full of perfect people. And then you learn real quick that it's full of imperfect people and they're trying to do the right thing. Or your position of reading it is you learning from what not to do, and what to do, because everybody in here is not jacked. Some people really got it right. Like I love the book of Ruth, but but it was real interesting because you could see how God is still using these people, and I just thought that was amazing. So yeah, but that threw me for a loop.
My last note for this section was just about how Abraham and Sarah went back to like they're repeating their past mistakes, and it's like, yo, you repeat your past mistakes until you learn from them. So thankfully, this time God intervened before things went too far. And when the king asked, what's his name, Abimelech,
Oh, yeah.
king,
I always have
he was
issues with
like, why? He was like, why? And that gave Abraham, because a lot of times we make decisions and we just do them. And it's not till somebody asks you why, and you have to kind of like explain and justify. And you be like, yeah, that was stupid. That you realize how stupid it was and that you can get the takeaways. So I would hope that, the second time around, this will have sunk in. I mean, Abraham is now 100 years old. I think he should
and Sarah still look good.
and he's still putting these crazy things going on. Like I just don't understand. You gonna put it away? You're not a child. You're not spray chicken no more, Abraham.
I
Fine.
mean, so that goes to like, so in a sense, I hate to say this about Father Abraham, but that is a weakness to me. That is weak. Like you have had that situation before, and now you're in it again, saying that your wife is your sister. Outside of all the other downfalls with the whole Ishmael situation, And you're about to cost this man greatly. Like that's what happened with the last man. Like all this stuff started happening with him, and you saw the turmoil that you brought upon this man by not telling the truth. So why put somebody else in the same situation, thinking that if I don't tell them that if I tell them that you're my wife, they're gonna try to hurt me to get to you.
Right.
Thus again, Sarah still looks good because obviously somebody wants her.
I think
um,
also it's an assumption based on fear because the king he said, so you just assumed that me and my crew was just bad people. Because why would you just think that we were just going to be rowdy and take your wife? Like, you like, okay, it's your wife. All right, cool. But like, it's just unnecessary. Like, sometimes it takes somebody calling you out on your crap to be like, all that is unnecessary. Just stop. Like, just stop. Um, so I was happy that somebody was able to have that conversation with him because I would think in all these conversations that the Lord has appeared to Abraham, he would have been like, why did you do that? He never asked him why did he do that back in the day.
I mean,
Moving
I
on.
don't know why. I don't know why, but I'm glad he came to the king and was like, the king was like, look, God know my heart. I wouldn't have did that had I had known
Yeah.
that she was so and so's wife. And God was like, yeah, I know. And that's good because sometimes you don't get the reassurance that I was about to sin, but I didn't. And it was based on somebody lying to me, type of thing. That's a good judge.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I don't know why he was willing to risk the nation like that, like that man and whoever else. It's just Abraham still trying to figure it out. It does, and I mean, again, it just means that everybody's not perfect. So
Yeah, I mean, it's just all through this section. I mean, throughout the Bible in itself, it shows you how everybody's been going through it. The people that God have used go through it, and there are different trials and tribulations, and they make mistakes and they don't get it right, and then they do get it right, or they might get one thing right and mess up 25 other things, but they got that one thing right. So it's more so like a story of just somewhere in this book there is a lesson or a person that can resonate with you and on your situation that can kind of give you hope and just not feel so alone because this been over what 3,000 BC years, centuries, of just
messing up,
lessons and blessings.
messing up, and then being blessed regardless. So yes, I am still looking at these cookies. I would just like to say, have you ever heard? I don't know if I'm gonna eat this one. This is a gingerbread Oreo. I don't know how this got in my house because I
I
don't
think
eat
you
that.
should try it and tell us about it.
Huh?
Come on,
Try it.
let's
Gingerbread
go.
burns. Ginger burns. I'll eat the Oreo, the regular one. I mean, I'll taste
You
it.
all eat 4 packs of those? Because I just thought it was literally 4 cookies. Now you're telling me it's 8 because you said it was
No,
supposed to be 4.
no, no. It's four, like two's in this pack and two's in this pack.
Okay, I thought you had 4 packs, and I'm like, that's 8. Now I gotta be a friend and tell you don't do it.
Okay, let me eat it. I just feel like I don't like spicy cookies.
I
I
love
should have
ginger.
grabbed this one.
I love
I'm gonna
ginger
try
snap.
it. I don't like it.
Well,
It tastes like pumpkin.
that don't taste good. That's all we have today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and even extending us grace and going over. But we really, we got into it. It was good. I hope y'all enjoyed staying late to see what we had to say about Sodom and Gomorrah and this hot mess.
It was
And
real
lo
hot.
and behold, we ain't done with Abraham and Sarah yet. So
Yeah,
next time we will be discussing, Kelly will be leading, and she'll be covering
the
what
birth
Genesis
of Isaac.
21
Yeah,
through
the
through
birth
what?
Isaac.
21
Am I
through 23.
hold on. Hold on. Let me see about. We can say the birth of Isaac, like 21 to 23.
That's what I was.
But I mean, right after that, that's when Isaac meets his wife. So I don't know if we want to
Yeah,
break on that.
I mean, because I don't know, because then it talks about Abraham and Sarah dying, but then we get into the real story of Isaac, and that's a doozy.
This family is like that. They just like, man, if this was not a Tyler Perry show. So that is all. So we're gonna do. I'm gonna shoot for 21, 22, 23. That's what we'll do. Next time we meet, and that day, just to make sure everybody knows, is not November. It's always the first Wednesday of the month, and that will be December 2nd.
Can y'all believe 2020 is over? I just want to say off topic that I hope everyone is not feeling very anxious as our country is in a season of waiting. But we just learned about patience, so be patient.
Yeah,
We
let's
will
not take
results.
So I would just do a lot of prayer today. I don't know when we're supposed to know the results of that.
I heard that some states were saying they won't be able to finish their mail-in votes for like another week, and so we'll see. I hope that everyone exercises their right to vote, no matter who you voted for. That's your choice, but you should definitely exercise your rights. I have no.
People fought and bled for it, so. All right, so thank you all. Yep,
Yeah,
God is in control. Aisha, you are 100% correct. He is still king no matter who is president. How about that? Let's not all go crazy over, a candidate that we believe should be in losing. I've heard some bad things, so definitely got a lot of prayer.
Everyone be safe. What? COVID's still going rampant. Flu season is here.
You know what? I just realized by the time, so we're speaking to those who are alive, but by the time this goes, like for public, we will already know who the president is. So, yeah.
I was like, they don't have to rush because technically they just have to make a decision by January. They could linger this bad boy out, be like, recount them again, recount them.
Yeah, I mean, I was told that if it's a close call, then it goes to the decision of the Supreme Court. I just feel
election. I haven't had that many elections because I'm not that old, y'all. But this is the closest election that I have been privy to and aware of. I'm just like, I'm shocked and dismayed. Not dismayed, but thank you. Very shocked. I'm not gonna say I'm dismayed because it is what it is. I am dismayed about the people who voted for people who y'all knew.
The throwaway vote, Kanye.
People the 23,000 people who voted for Kanye West, the 70,000 people who voted for Joe Jorgensen. Like, come on, y'all. Those were serious votes that could have been somewhere else.
Hey, my state voted the way I voted, so I'm cool. I think that's something that some people feel disappointed is when their state doesn't vote the way that they want. So
would you move?
But we'll see. I'm gonna be good regardless. I voted on Tuesday of last month, not last month. My vote don't count. I voted last week. And I went up there and I had on my Morgan hoodie, and the lady was like, oh, we have a first time voter. Like, actually, I voted 2008. Ma'am, and I could have voted earlier than that. But I was in college. It was a little difficult for me then. So yeah, but we will all remain calm and blessed and peaceful. So we're gonna be okay. We got through these 4 years.
This is all very true. We have gotten through
a lot. This year's been a lot. Yeah, so we'll be
fine. It has been a lot.
I think
I don't know
as a
what November and December have in store. Oh, the next time that you see us, Kelly and I will both be a year older. We're November babies. So
yes, I will be older.
I will be the age that I decided I was going to be Soraya and take things into my own hands to birth my children. However, after reading this, I'm going to wait.
Wait.
Yeah, for real, y'all. I had like you can ask my friends from like high school. They will tell you that I've always had a plan that if I was not married and with child by this time, I would be heading to a bank to handle business.
I thought that at the age of 30. I was like, if I'm not doing what I want to do at 30, I'm gonna have some problems. But
Oh,
we'll see.
Paula, when's your birthday?
Oh, Aisha have a birthday this month too?
I'm sure all of you guys are Scorpios, though. Next month.
next
Hey,
month.
Veg. Hey. Oh, if you're early December. Well,
We'll see y'all later. Bye bye.
Kelly says,
Bye
bye, people.
bye, people.